I did my project on Touching the Void, a documentary directed by Kevin MacDonald. It's about two experienced British climbers, Joe Simpson and Simon Yates, who decided to travel to Peru in 1985 to conquer the unclimbed west face of a 21,000-foot peak, Suela Grande. On their trek, Joe actually broke his leg, and they had to tie together both of their 100-foot rope in order to make a 300-foot rope, so that on their descent, on the way back down from the mountain, Simon could slowly lower Simon down the mountain because he was just unable to do so himself. However, Joe found himself dangling into above a very deep crevasse, and Simon had no way of knowing that he was dangling and didn't know what was happening. Joe wasn't giving him any slack to the rope, so he decided to make the decision to cut it and save himself, especially because they were out of gas, so they couldn't make any water out of snow at that point. So it was pertinent for Simon to get back to the camp. Some key terms that I learned was an alpine style, which is a technique of of climbing for experienced climbers. It's where you pack a rucksack full of your clothing, food, and climbing equipment. You start from a base camp and try to climb the mountain in a single go. You don't fix a line of ropes up beforehand. There's no set checkpoint camps to stalk. There's no line of retreat. It's extremely risky. There's fluting. A fluting is a groove or a set of grooves. And in this case, these grooves were chock full of powdered snow, which is extremely hard to climb. And the next word is cornice, which is just a horizontal ledge. And the last is a prusik loop, which are just thin cords of rope that enable you to tie special twisting knots so that you can slide up and down the rope and pull into it. The central question of the film, I think, would be, what would you do in that situation? Do you really think that you would have any other choice? I mean, these men were experienced climbers, so I'm just not quite sure there would be another choice, but that's my opinion. Why climb? What's the point? I think that they were really allured by the fact that no one had successfully made this climb. I think they wanted to be the first, and I think that that's really brave and admirable of them. It's cool to watch what people are capable of, and it must have been really scary because you have to put all of your trust into that person, especially because they were connected by a rope, so it could have been a really good trust exercise. Make sure that you trust your friend. The influence, I think it definitely acts as a cautionary tale. It's definitely a realistic depiction of what would happen if you would go on a go on a climb that is extremely hard and has never been finished successfully. How is the subject oriented to the world around them? I mean, they just wanted to have fun, and they said they didn't care about anyone else. They felt free in nature, away from the clutter of the world. They loved the idea of the unknown, and like I said, they were connected by rope, which meant that they had to trust each other immensely. Why is it interesting? It's interesting because when Joe had been alone and without food, water, or shelter for almost 4 or 5 days, and when he had finally made it back to camp, he looked at Simon and told him that he would have done the same thing, and that he doesn't pass any sort of judgment on him for making that decision. And I think that that's extremely interesting. Do I think it was super responsible not to make sure that you had enough gas to make fresh water? No, I think that there's something else could have been done better there. But it sure was interesting to watch.